Every military family knows that it is something that could happen. Their son or daughter could die in the line of duty in service to their country, but sometimes the worst happens in a different way, in a cloud of mystery and unanswered questions, as in the case of Angelina Resendiz, a 21-year-old Navy seaman who was assigned to a ship that was docked in Norfolk, Virginia. Late last month, May 29th, Angie went missing, and then 10 days later, agents from NCIS found Angie's body 10 miles from her barracks. But this is how Naval Seaman Angelina Resendiz was returned to her heartbroken family in Texas in a flag-draped coffin, an American flag. That woman that you see there in the white dress is quite obviously Angie's mom, who we met on this program just a few days before this tragic homecoming. As we reported then, the Navy does have a suspect, a fellow active duty sailor assigned to Angie's ship. But this is where things get really quiet, because crime and punishment within the military seems to be on a strictly need-to-know basis, and the Navy seems to look at us civilians, as though we don't need to know too much. So I turn now to retired Coast Guard Commander Marshall Griffin. He's a former JAG officer, which is what they call attorneys and judges in the armed forces. Marshall is now representing the mother of Seaman Angelina Resendiz. Thank you so much for being on. I have so many questions for you. We have not named the suspect, Marshall, but when Angie's mom was on with us last week, she did. She had heard the name of the suspect, and it appears that the Navy has released the name of the suspect to you.
That's correct. The Navy prosecutors confirmed that it was Jeremiah Copeland. I heard Jeremiah when they told me. I've not seen it in print, but Jeremiah Copeland is who I believe it is.
Is that all they would tell you? Because it feels very strange. I mean, in civilian justice, you get to know why your fellow citizens are being held against their will. But in the Uniform Code of Military Justice, I'm not so sure that it mirrors civilian justice, does it?
So, I mean, it's all grounded in the Constitution, as you know, so it's all based on that law, you know, all of the case law that would be binding on civilian court. The federal civilian courts is either binding or persuasive on military courts. So the same rights exist. I think you're really just seeing the reflection of kind of a military that's a lower volume. They don't handle, you know, quite as much military or criminal justice as a civilian system. And so, you know, maybe just handles the public interface quite a bit different.
Does it ever? We feel so in the dark about this, and yet I'm trying to do the math. It is certainly more than 72 hours. This person, Jeremiah Copeland, to my knowledge, has not been charged. How long can they hold this person, this fellow seaman, before charging and releasing that information publicly?
So the charges will get perfected at an Article 32 hearing. That's an analog to the civilian like a grand jury or a probable cause hearing or preliminary hearing, depending on what jurisdiction. But they will go to an Article 32 hearing where a neutral and attached JAG officer will look at the, you know, draft charges or proposed charges. He'll have a limited right of discovery at that hearing to get, you know, whatever evidence the government wants to present to establish probable cause to move forward to try the case at a general court-martial.
So, okay, I look at these pictures of Angie, and my heart just breaks. Her mom said she thought this person, Jeremiah Copeland, might have worked in a kitchen with her. Do you have any information? Because I feel so terrible for the mom. Everything she knows is from friends, but not from the Navy.
No, and that's true. And I'll tell you, I spent a lot of my workday trying to get information out of the military. It doesn't come easy if they're not programmed to release. And there's you know, the name of the game in the military is discretion. Officers in the military have a lot of discretion on what they do and don't do. And it's kind of presumed that they are acting in the best interest of the federal government. So that's why they're doing what they're doing.
Just want to be really But can I be real specific and interrupt for a second? We have a photograph of a guy pointing to Angie, and this is not the person who's being held. I just want to make it really, really clear that that's necessarily, I don't know who this person is, but this is just a photograph from Angie's family of Angie, obviously in happier times. But carry on with what you said. I just wanted to make sure that that person in the photograph is not maligned in any way. If he's not involved, he shouldn't be pictured like that.
Sure, no, that does look like a very positive event. That looks like a pretty traditional military promotion or advancement ceremony of some sort. But the military, so they have 120 days to get him arraigned. And he can be held there. That's under Rule for Court Martial 707. That's at the 120 days. And within that 120 days, they need to have the Article 32 hearing and get him to the arraignment.
So once that happens, and just to be clear, Uniform Code of Military Justice, I'd always heard it really is similar to civilian justice. Once they get to that arraignment, would it be? Would it be as transparent? Will we find out what the relationship was, how this poor young naval seaman died? Will we find out all those details that we normally start hearing about quite quickly in civilian justice?
We certainly hope to. And I think you would see in a lot of criminal investigations, investigators being pretty tight-lipped, especially when it's kind of thrust upon them, as it was in this case. There was no, quiet development or anything like that, as you might see in some other type of case. Releasing information this early in the investigation could damage the prosecution, could, reduce the odds of a successful prosecution. So I would expect to see some of the, lack of transparency here very early, but we expect that to change. And certainly as the case progresses into the 32, again, more information is going to come out there. And then, after the arraignment, we'll have a judge and a court and an established TMO, and you'll start to see some of the filings, and we'll learn more about the case then.
Boy, I sure hope that your client, Esmeralda Castle is her name, Angie's mom, I sure hope she gets that information before the rest of us, because she is really hurting.
Thank you for watching. Subscribe below and download our NewsNation app right now on your phone, and you will get fact-based, unbiased news for all Americans.